What's going on, guys? Alex here, back for another video. And this video is going to be comparing wholesale and lease options to traditional wholesaling. Okay. I'm not sure which one's going to get posted first, but I did another video comparing wholesale and lease options to sandwich lease options, which are within the same realm, right? Within the same space of the term space. These two strategies, however, I feel are different spaces, and I'm going to share why. So just to get into it, the first thing is wholesale and lease options. When you're doing this strategy, you're making creative term offers, right? When I say a terms offer, not only are you dealing with a price, but you're also negotiating monthly payment, you're negotiating length of term, and you're negotiating a down payment, all right? When it comes to traditional wholesaling, you're negotiating price. It's all price. It's all about making lowball offers, typically 70% of the after repaired value, less repairs, less your profit. Basic formula. So naturally, a seller is going to take a lowball offer if their home is in need of repairs, right? If it's a property problem. Most times, I'm not saying that a seller won't accept a lowball offer if they have a personal problem or even a financial problem. It depends. But most cases, you're dealing with ugly homes, right? When you're making lowball all cash offers. Versus wholesale and lease options, you're dealing with nicer houses, right? And guess what? There's a lot more nice houses out there than there are ugly houses. So just want to make that point. In addition to this, there's a lot less competition when it comes to wholesale and lease options, and this is coming from my own experience as well, not just from what you hear, versus traditional wholesaling. Has way more competition. Just go to a local real estate investment club and find out what strategies they talk about. 90% of the time, it's either going to be fix and flip, or it's going to be landlording, or it's going to be wholesaling, right? It's going to be dealing with making lowball offers, getting a deal based off price. Very rarely do you find a club, a real estate investment club, that talks about making creative offers or dealing with wholesale lease options or even sandwich lease options or even different types of strategies, creative strategies. Most of the times you're dealing with these types of clubs. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why. It's probably because of the A&E fix and flip shows. Most people think that's what real estate investment is, right? That's what it is. You have to buy low, you have to fix up, and you have to sell high, right? That's what most people think because of like the shows, the renovation shows. So that's why I think there's a whole lot less competition when it comes to wholesale lease options than there is traditional wholesale. Another reason why I know this is because whenever I ask a seller if they're open to a lease purchase or other terms, most times they're not familiar with that, or they've never been introduced to that. They're like, I haven't thought about that. Let me think about it. Which is why I send them an email to create more credibility and share some options with them just to get them thinking, and then we can set up a follow-up call. When most sellers get a call and they hear from an investor right away, right off the bat, they think it's not a good fit because they're expecting a lowball offer. And again, I call nice houses. I call properties that are in good condition versus ones that are in ugly condition. All right, so again, keep in mind, a lot less competition and there's a lot more nice houses out there. Traditional wholesaling, there's a lot more competition and there's a lot less ugly houses out there. Just keep that in mind. Moving along. Wholesale and lease options requires no marketing budget. I spend zero money on marketing, okay? Because I basically cold call. I call for sale by owners and I call for rent by owners. And pretty soon I'm gonna start calling expireds once I run out of the for sale by owners. Okay? Versus traditional wholesaling, typically what you need to do to find a seller who'll accept a lowball offer, and that's in distress and that you'll need, an ugly house, is not going to advertise their home for sale by owner. For whatever reason, you have to spend money on lists, right? You have to buy lists. You have to purchase the cell phone records of those lists if you want to cold call them. And I've done this, guys. I've done this. I've worked with the #1 fix and flipper in New England. Teaches all around the country. Would provide us with Mojo dialing, which is a 3-line dialer, would give us the cell phone records, would purchase lists. so that he could make all cash lowball offers and buy them low, renovate, sell them high, right? Or sometimes he would wholesale them if it's not in an area that he likes. And it takes way more calls just to get an appointment. Hey guys, this is just a side note, just to give you a little more context, because I mentioned that I worked with an investor and I was giving you some numbers. So what I mean by that is I was actually a real estate agent with a brokerage that was owned by an investor. So what the investor would do is spend a lot of money on marketing to generate leads, and then he'd have his agents basically book appointments, go on call, basically book appointments, go on the appointments, make cold calls, and then make offers on his behalf. And if the seller didn't take the offer, then we would talk to transition that into a listing. All right, so that's where my experience comes from in the field. And what I actually meant previously was that it would take about 20 contacts just to get a lead. Right? And by lead, it was someone who was open to selling their home within the next 6 months to a year. That was a lead, right? 6 months to a year. That's how I would define it. And by that, so when you factor that in, so again, list purchased, cell phone records purchased, Mojo dialer purchased, all this stuff costs you money, guys. And you start making the calls, make the calls, 20 contacts just to get someone to say that they're open to selling their house within the next 6 months to a year, right? Then they would go into our follow-up system. And then when you get that lead, right, I forget how many leads it would take just to book an appointment. And then when you book an appointment, about 80 to 90%, more than 80, probably 90% of the time, it was a listing. It was an agent deal, not an investor deal, because they weren't ready to take a lowball offer. So I just want to give you some perspective, because with wholesaling lease options, you're already calling sellers who have homes for sale or for rent, right? So you're already talking to people who already have a home for sale, and then you're making about the same amount just to book an appointment, not just to get a lead. All right, it takes about 3 contacts on average for me to get a lead. So that was just some context. That was just some side notes. Back to the video. Then it does, and again, he had to pay for all this stuff in the beginning. Versus a for sale by owner who already advertises their property out there for free. You just pick up the phone and call them. It takes way less calls for me to book an appointment with a seller. So the numbers are just ridiculous compared to wholesaling lease options, where you might make, I don't know, depending on how good you are on the phone, 20, 30, maybe 40 contacts before you book an appointment with someone. And then 50% of the time, since you've already sent them the option, then you might get a contract, and then you move from there for free without spending any money. Okay, so just keep that in mind too. Right away, you can see which one I'm leaning more towards, right? So another difference between wholesaling lease options is and traditional wholesaling is you're dealing with tenant buyers as your exit strategy, versus traditional wholesaling, you're dealing with investor buyers as your exit strategy. Okay, so my opinion, when you're negotiating out, an investor buyer is going to want to lowball you as well, so maybe bring down your margins less. A tenant buyer is pretty much happy that they have an opportunity to actually live in a nice house, right? Because they know that the credit's not great, or they might be self-employed and have, you can't get stated income loans like you used to. They're excited to have the opportunity to live in a nice home, and they're not really looking to negotiate terms. Some of them might, right? But they're not going to fight you on it. They know that the competition for nice houses or the availability for houses that are available on terms is extremely low, right? So it's a lot easier, in my opinion. Moving along, I believe that wholesaling lease options, there's more profit in it because of not spending any money on marketing. Again, I'm talking about net, right? When you spend no money on marketing, when you have less competition, your profit's going to be naturally higher. Versus in traditional wholesaling, you have a lot more competition. Sellers who are smart are probably going to call all the We Buy House ads and all the We Buy House people to have a competition as far as all the, and I experienced this. I would have online ads out there, and sellers would call in and say that they have a house for sale and that they were having other investors look at their house, right? So naturally, it's going to lead to less profit. More competition means less profit. Spending money on marketing means less profit, net profit, right? So naturally, you have more profit. Not even, so let's assume I didn't, and all these reasons here, this is the main reason why I like wholesaling lease options, because you transition into strategies such as sandwich lease options, owner financing, subject to, that lead to freedom. All right. And freedom is pretty objective as far as passive income exceeding your expenses. Traditional wholesalers typically transition into fix and flipping, right? Because fix and flipping, you earn more of a profit, right? 40 to 60,000 on average for fix and flipping, maybe 5 to 10, sometimes 20 for traditional wholesaling. And this leads to just more independence. Very rarely does this lead to freedom. Now, with that said, some wholesalers might transition into renting these homes, right? Straight rental. But now you're a traditional landlord. And when it comes to tenant buyers versus traditional renters, it's a completely different mindset. Tenant buyers take care of the house. Tenant buyers pay for all the expenses to do with the house. Tenant buyers see the house as if it's their own, meaning they take care of the maintenance. They deal with all the expenses. They even make repairs on the property, right? Versus traditional renters call the landlord for all that stuff. They call you for all that stuff. All right, so it's a completely different mindset. Tenant buyers put down 3 to 10% skin in the game down. Traditional renters put down first, last, and security at most. All right, so it's a completely different mindset when it comes to freedom. My opinion is that there's really no competition when it comes to free. So wholesaling lease options, again, leads to structures where it's going to be, you'll be financially free. You'll have passive income exceeding your expenses. Traditional wholesalers typically lead to fix and flipping. And if they do rent out their homes, it's a completely different mindset from a traditional renter versus a tenant buyer. Okay. My last point is that I guess this is not really a pro or con, but wholesaling lease options, you're getting a lease option agreement, right, under contract versus a traditional wholesaling, you're getting a P&S under contract. All right, so these are some pros and cons. These are some differences between these two strategies. I thought I'd go over them because it's a similar structure as far as you're wholesaling a contract, you're assigning out of a contract, and you're getting paid one time, right? So each of these are both a job. Each of these are both can lead you to independence, right? I think one of which leads you to freedom more than the other. But I just thought I'd share my opinions on each strategy. I know traditional wholesaling is super popular, much more popular than wholesaling lease options for whatever reason. Again, I think it's the A&E shows. And obviously all the investment clubs really talk more about this side of the business than this side of the business. I think this side of the business obviously requires more creativity. So again, these are just my thoughts, right? Obviously, I lean more towards wholesaling lease options. Sometimes when I'm mailing offers for a seller who wasn't a good lead, I'll mail them an offer, 3 different options, and one of the options will include a low ball offer. I make it super low because if I'm going to take this on, it's going to have to be an amazing deal, and for me to want to even be interested in it, because I don't want to build my business off making low ball offers. It might come my way, and I might take it on, but I'm really building my business on making terms offers. I'm building my tenant buyer list, building my buyer systems, because this is the same buyer that's going to live in the home when I sandwich lease purchase it, or when I owner finance it, or when I get the subject to. Same buyer, same exit strategy. So you really want to cultivate this list, right? Versus, again, I'm not interested in making one-time deals forever. I'm not interested in having a job forever. Again, no disrespect to this strategy. I know a lot of people make a good living off this strategy. They probably spend a lot of money to get the leads that they generate at the same time. So I'm not sure what their net profit is. But again, just my thoughts. Okay, second side note for the video. So I just wanted to add this in here as well, because I don't want it to seem like I'm saying that traditional wholesaling is a bad strategy. I don't believe that at all. In fact, I believe that it's important to know both at some level, right? I think you should focus maybe one more than the other. But at the same time, it's good to know both, because as a traditional wholesaler, you're going to get leads that are not going to take a cash offer, and therefore you can give them an alternative solution by giving them a creative offer, and this will get more offers accepted, right? So you're basically building more tools in your toolbox. And same thing goes for wholesaling lease option side. If this is your focus, like it is for me, you're going to come across opportunities where the seller's not going to take a creative offer, right? A lease purchase offer. And the house might be in a situation where they have enough equity, and the house might need some repairs, and they'll consider taking a discount for their equity, right? And then you can give them that option, right? And then once you build up a list of investor buyers, which is not hard to do, then there you go. You have an extra tool in your tool belt. So it's good to know both. At the end of the day, what you want to be is a transaction engineer, so that whatever problems that the seller comes at you, you know how to solve them regardless of the solution, right? When it comes to them wanting to list their home, even though I'm licensed, I tend to stay away from that because that's a business within a business as well. So I just refer those. I would just refer that over to a realtor friend. But in terms of these two strategies, it's good to know both of these. It's good to have these in your toolbox and keep learning and keep growing. So I hope that makes sense. So hopefully this video was helpful. I might get a little flat from from traditional wholesalers. Um, but yeah, keep in mind, I post live calls every single Friday, just as a reminder. And what I'm going to do from now on is make them unlisted. I'm no longer going to make them private for 24 hours. So they're going to be available to you for the entire weekend. So starting Friday up until Sunday, it's going to be available for you to watch on your own time. And then I'll make them private sometime on Sunday. All right. So I hope this video was helpful. Thanks again for watching, and look out for the next one.